Coming up next on Access Framingham, part 2 of a visit to Southeast Asia with my very special guest, the host of Travels with Jack, Mr. Jack Barron. Stay tuned. Hello, I'm Bill Rabkin. Normally, you'd see Jack Barron, the host of Travels with Jack on Access Framingham TV, right here in this chair. But today, we have a very special guest on the show, and that guest is Jack himself. Our guests always share with the audience a recent trip, a vacation, a cruise, or maybe a day trip right here in New England. You'll see their photos and hear about the exciting places they have visited. On this month's show, I'm very pleased to welcome Jack Barron as a traveler and guest on his own program. Jack and I have been bringing you this show since the year 2010, and although Jack has traveled often and visited many countries around the globe, this is the first time he has shared his travel adventures with you. In January 2017, Jack toured Southeast Asia, where he visited Korea, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand, and then he returned home through Japan. We were not able to cover his entire journey in a single hour, so today we bring you part 2. Be sure to check the program schedule and also the video on demand schedule on the Access Framingham website for the other episodes in this 3-part adventure, and enjoy seeing Jack's entire trip. Now, what parts of the world have you visited? Please be our guest on Travels with Jack and share your travel experience with our viewing audience. Just contact us here at Access Framingham Television. Let us know you'd like to be a guest. You can phone AFTV at 508-875-5434. Or you can send an email message to info@accessfram.tv. Our associate producer will contact you to make arrangements for you to be on our show here on Access Framingham TV. If you don't live in Massachusetts, we would be very pleased to assist you with your travel to the Access Framingham studio. And now, let me welcome Jack Barron as a guest on Travels with Jack. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you, Bill. I hope I'm not too rusty when these photos come up.
I hope not.
Okay.
Let me tell you a little bit about Jack before we begin the journey. Jack and his wife Louise live in Southborough, Massachusetts, with their extra spoiled German Shepherd dog, Roxy. Jack is the president of a food import company. They have a daughter, Alexa, who is a Facebook executive in California, married to Matt, and the mother of Sloan, a lovely daughter, with another on the way shortly. Their son, Zachary, vice president of a real estate development and management company here in Massachusetts, with a daughter and a son.
And a wife.
And a wife, yes. Jack is active in Republican politics. He is a traditional Republican, he tells me, and at the moment he is the chairman of the Southborough Republican Committee. He grew up in Newton, Massachusetts, went to Newton High School and UMass Amherst.
And graduated.
And became a restaurateur. And he decided after a while that was not his calling, so he switched to the
customers decided.
Switched to the sales side of the food business, where he remains today. Mm-hmm. They lived in California for about 9 years, moved to Southborough, Massachusetts, and are there today. So Jack, we've been through, in part 1, your journey to Seoul, South Korea.
Yes.
And then from there to Vietnam.
Kim Jong-un did not dine with me.
No, I'm sure he did not. Probably didn't even know you were there.
No, we didn't alert him.
Then you went to Vietnam.
Yes.
And in part 1, we saw your journey to Hanoi.
Yes.
And now we're going to pick up the journey at that point where you traveled from Hanoi to Halong Bay.
Yes.
So let's bring the pictures up. There you can see a tiny red arrow showing the journey to Halong Bay from Hanoi.
Yep.
And let's go ahead and you can tell us about the photos in that portion of your trip.
So the travel group I was with arranged for us to go on a boat. That's what I'll call it. Not a cruise ship, but a boat through Halong Bay. And I think they took us to maybe a little pearl store before we got to Halong Bay and had us buy some different trinkets there, which was nice. I don't mind those places. And we got on the boat in Halong Bay, I think, and they gave me a private room, cabin. I think I had maybe a queen-size bed, comfortable, nothing you'd write home about. And then we started on the boat ride through Halong Bay, and hopefully there we go. And this is, that must have been the company we were with, Classic Sailing Cruises. And there were a bunch of boats, and that's what they look like. This one was relatively new. I remember it was air-conditioned, and the crew spoke English, and they started us off with some cocktails, and we got going out into the bay. Now, what you're looking at are these iconic sandstone rocks. I don't know, you might call them small little mountains, and they really are quite beautiful. And you travel throughout the bay, and you see these all along the way, and it seems to be a very big tourist attraction because there really were quite a few of the boats. Now, some take a day trip and bring you back. The one we were set up with was an overnight. And let's see if we can move along. Yep, and this is just the general scenery along the bay.
Keep going.
And you see all these boats. That's basically the same kind of trip where you go on, and they had I think we were late in the day, so they set up a very nice buffet dinner with traditional Vietnamese cuisine, which I liked. I found the food in Vietnam very enjoyable. And you go on this boat ride not too fast, and you keep looking at the scenery and talk and eat and drink. So there was nothing really to complain about. And I think we just have quite a few pictures of this. And then this is like a little floating town that the fishermen set up. You can see how lush the greenery is below the mountains. And they catch fish, and I remember they were holding them in different pens and feed them. And, kind of aquaculture. And then they bring them to the markets every day or every few days, after they fatten them up a little bit. And it was just a very, very nice area.
All right.
And
go ahead.
We'll continue to move along with these photos. This shows you maybe this looks like
fish pens?
The fish pens. Or some of the fish that were in the fish pens.
Okay. And what's next?
And then all kinds of little boats come along the way, and they're delivering to the fish town, to the little fisherman's town, groceries, detergents, whatever. And that's how they get their goods, because it all has to come through the water.
You don't hop in the car and drive to the market.
That's it. You don't hop in the car.
Right.
And I don't think our boat took any products from these different deliveries, but the little fishing town did. But you continue to see how beautiful the sandstone rocks are as coming up through the bay. And they had these caves they took us to. This particular one, if you read Tien Ong Cave, and these were really quite nice. They were caves in these little mountains or hills, and they lit them up, and you walk right in and you see different parts of the rocks. I don't know whether those are called stalagmites or
I can't remember which way
which
is which.
comes from the bottom of the top. But
Right.
you see that, and you see different things in these caves, but it was really quite nice where they had them lit up so you really could see everything. And I don't know, you see, it really was quite beautiful. I'm looking at it now, and I do remember how impressed I was with the natural beauty of these caves. So that's why they get the tourists to come in, and you can kind of see it. There's a walkway with all the lighting so it wasn't really too difficult to navigate through these caves. So we'll see now back out of the caves, and you can again see how many of these boats do this trip. This is a very active tourist attraction in Vietnam, and I would very much recommend it. And let's see, we continued on. This could be the next day. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Oh, and there we are. We're doing a little exercise out on the boat. I guess we didn't have that good of weather that day. It certainly wasn't cold, but you see everybody has jackets on. So that was exercise time. And you see, I mean, that's really kind of a Hollywood movie scene where you see the clouds over the mountains, and you're just waiting for Bloody Mary there to come out and start singing. So,
Good.
and again, this might have been one of the small boats that comes by and tries to sell you things. They're very, we went to this Ttop Island, which they had a thing, you can climb up, I think it was about 600 stairs to the top of Ttop Island. I found a very comfortable picnic table at the bottom, just about where they let me off the boat. And I sat and I talked with the locals. And some of the other people, the elderly, hypertensive of heart disease should not participate in the mountain climbing. I'm not suffering from that, but I figured I might as well stay down.
Sure.
And I would live without the vision of seeing from a high level. This might be, and they do raise some pearls in these different areas.
Okay.
And there's a map of Halong Bay.
It's quite large.
Yes, it really is. It's quite large. And again, the key is those sandstone figures, rocks. And this appears to be a rice growing paddy. So this must be, we have probably left the tour and headed back toward, I believe, Danang. But we will see
It's
when I
coming
get
up
the
in a
next
moment.
picture
Yeah.
what's going on. There's just some pretty
Daylilies.
water lilies. And
One more.
more water lilies. And, they took us to a little there we go, a little village. Yen, I don't even remember the name of it, but that must be it, Yen Duke Village Tour. And I remember the village was very nice, and I think we should have more pictures of that.
No, that's all you gave me.
That's all I gave you. All right, so carry on.
Yeah.
Where are we
Now,
next?
was there a lot of English-speaking people?
Absolutely. Well, the trip I was with, we had one tour guide who was with us from beginning to end. So when we started in Hanoi, she was with us, and when we ended in Bangkok, she was with us.
I see.
And then in each different city, we picked up a local guide
guides.
who spoke English and taught us for that particular region. So we were without any issues of language.
Good.
And if we had any problems, our regular tour guide, who was with us the whole trip, she would speak to somebody in the language and say what's going on or whatever. So,
Well, let's go to the next map.
okay.
You're now on your way to Danang.
Yep. And Danang is really a very impressive kind of Miami Beach, Rio de Janeiro version in Vietnam. And
let's see.
I'm showing the Danang airline,
Right.
VN123. This is the hotel we stayed at in Danang. We were at the, I loved this hotel. This is also where they had recently, maybe 6 months ago, the Asian presidents all met at this hotel in Danang. This was called the Sun Intercontinental, and
Very modern.
brand new. This is on a beautiful piece of real estate called Monkey Island, which we were told the government of Vietnam owned. And they leased it out. They did a worldwide search, and they found somebody to develop the property. Under a secret name, it's really the president of the country. But they found somebody from
Surprise,
a
surprise.
28-year-old from the Ukraine. This is one of the restaurants, and they sit you, and you are in like a floating, I don't know if you can see it, it's almost like a martini glass shape, and you sit out over an open area, and they developed all these beautiful townhomes and condominiums. This is communism at its best. High-priced townhomes, condos, fabulous restaurants in this hotel. I mean, it really was very, very impressive. The buffet breakfast, unbelievable. You can see it. It beats our 40-foot Sunday morning breakfast at the Temple Brotherhood
yes.
that you photograph every
is quite
every
a
month.
buffet.
Yeah, this was tremendous with fruits and fresh fish and different Asian meals. And I mean, I told my kids we really should go back there as a family. It would be a great vacation. You can see it. And the place was beautifully, beautifully decorated. You see, I took quite a few pictures. I was so impressed with the way they had done it.
It's beautiful.
Yes. So this is where all those Asian presidents, President Trump was there. I remember, watching. They didn't spend too much time telling you where they stayed, but this was the property.
Is that a chessboard?
Yeah. Yeah, this was really
Very
quite
elegant.
a very, very beautiful property, new. The food, this was, again, still the same property. They had some different areas you could go about. And there was a gondola ride. Oh, now we're actually on the main beach in Danang. And I think I just took some general pictures to show you the scenery. They have all these baskets out there. I think they try to collect. And there is the skyline of Danang Beach and the city of Danang. And you see it has really developed quite a bit. There's a lot of money for construction coming in from South Korea and Japan. They seem to be the big investors. Vietnam is not crazy about Chinese investment.
Really?
They had a long history of Chinese domination, and they do not like China. That was the definite feeling I got. They prefer us to the Chinese. And this was a little town, I could say it's probably within the Danang area that shows you what old Danang used to look like. And we went in there and they took us around, and you can see, different figurines, and they have some little shops, kind of like a Chinatown. That's what I would say it was kind of similar to. And actually, I remember it having mostly Chinese influence, even though we were in Vietnam. But you can see the different sculptures and the gardens.
Are the shops for the tourists?
Yes, I would say very tourist, This particular ancient town, so to speak, I would say was very much for tourists, although, well, you could buy different things there. And see, and then that looks like one of the people who was showing us silk and how they weave the silk thread into fabric. And of course, I think they sold you a silk item afterwards. This was some famous Buddha that we went to visit up on a mountain that looks over Danang. I'm sure it's a good luck. Oh, this is at the hotel, and that was, remember I mentioned they had like a gondola that takes you from the ocean down below back up to the hotel, which is up higher. So that's how you get down to the beach or come back up from the beach. And Barefoot Cafe Water Sport, that was all part of the hotel. They had a different kids club and a gym and a cocktail lounge down at the pool.
Of course.
Yep, this is the pool area, or one of the pools, I should say.
Beautiful.
And that's it, Monkey Mountain. Try the monkey cocktails. That was called the Long Bar. Really was, and there you get another look at all the development they did on this property with for visitors to stay at.
Those are all hotel rooms?
Yes. Oh, there's me.
Yeah.
There's
we know
Jack.
you were there.
Yep. And those are all hotel rooms and condos. So the communists put together some nice properties to rent out to, I don't think other communists, well, certainly not the communists that they,
Not in that day.
oversee, but
Right.
but somebody's staying there and paying the ticket. Vietnam was interesting. They're motorcycle crazy.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Most of the young people, not even young, all people, motorcycles, I'd say, were way more popular than cars because obviously they're much less money.
Yeah. Little ones like motor scooters or big?
Both, motor scooters and not big Harleys, but I think Hondas were the most popular. And there's different status levels of the motorcycles. Like they were saying, some of the women who were very fashionable, they wanted to drive the Italian motorcycles, like I think a Vespa was still being shown there. But that was very, very big and made it very hard to cross the streets because they just keep coming and coming and coming. And some of these, I don't know if we'll see the pictures, but we went by one of the Samsung factories. Samsung has several big factories in Vietnam. And I think one of these factories, you're going to think I'm lying, but I think they employed 300,000 people in a factory.
Good grief.
Yeah. And they imagined the parking lot, but they all come with the motorcycles. And so that's how they,
much room.
Yeah, that's how they don't take up that much room. But the investment with some of these other Asian companies, this is where they're producing all those cell phones. They're Vietnam and probably some other countries. So right now, as we're doing this show now, the United States is in kind of a escalated trade tension with China.
Right.
We've escalated tariffs. And my comment is these countries are thrilled to take the business that China has been doing.
Yes.
So Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, all these countries who traditionally we envisioned as just rice farmers,
Right.
and they're very anxious for whatever industry they can bring in. So, and I saw it in Vietnam. They had huge industrial areas where Nike and Reebok were making shoes. So these people are busy with their motorcycles getting to work. And
you were there about 2.5 years ago now.
It could be that long ago.
January of 17, you said.
Yeah. So a while ago.
Okay, so
I'm
now we're going
surprised I'm remembering so much.
Well, that's good. Now you left there. Left
Okay.
Danang,
We're moving on.
and you moved on to Saigon, which is now called Ho Chi Minh
Ho Chi
City.
Minh City. All right. So have we got a
So
few
let's
pictures
have the next
there?
map.
Oh, we get a map.
We're
yes.
on our way to Ho Chi Minh City.
And we flew down to Ho Chi Minh City from Danang. I think the reason, I know it doesn't look that far away. The problem was they don't really have an interstate highway kind of system. So we used the airlines maybe more than we needed to. I mean, like, I would not normally fly from Boston to New York.
Of course.
I would drive, I might take the bus. But because the roads are so inefficient, they felt we were better on an airplane.
Okay.
So for people who are planning this trip, you may want to think about that. And when you say, oh, it doesn't look that far, it isn't. But if you're on a dirt road, it is.
Got it.
So we had one picture there of arriving. I was just surprised that there were a lot of very modern high-rise buildings. So there's a picture, and this is there. This was, I think, we were there maybe around Chinese New Year, 2017.
Okay.
So I just took a picture, and this is. I must have taken that to show again. Japan is a big
Investor?
investor in Saigon as well. This is the old French architecture that you see. We saw a lot of it in Hanoi. You see some of it here in Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon. And that's what the look is very French with a Southeast Asian look to it. And this was just a big open area that the city had, like a big plaza. And I just think I took some different pictures of the various buildings. Saigon, Ho Chi Minh, yep. A lot of... This was a well-known Catholic church that I don't know how active it is today. It was built by a very wealthy Vietnamese gentleman. I think he was a French... he was Vietnamese, but he wanted it in kind of a French church style. And this was right downtown Saigon. That might be the building which was the Opera House, where in fact, yes, we saw this water puppet show. And the water puppet show, I think they may have 2 or 3 other shows in the whole country. But what they do, it's really quite impressive. It's a combination of people and puppets in a big pool of water. And they entertain you, and you don't see everything because they move under the water with the different mechanisms. Let me see if they have a few other shots.
And you also saw a water puppet theater in Hanoi.
I may have.
That's in our...
Oh, is
in
it?
part
Okay,
one,
I
yes.
definitely saw it in Saigon. And you see, it's really quite a beautiful building. This was built a long time ago, and it's been updated. And you can see they modernized it with modern lighting and everything. And again, this is skyline of Saigon. More and more construction. I'm sure since I was there last, they keep adding. It really is a very modern-looking city. In fact, if you talk to some of the local people, they'll tell you how they miss the old days. You see all the motorcycles.
Good heavens.
Oh yeah, and to try to cross the street is a miracle. You have to zip along through all the cycles. I'm not even doing them justice. Sometimes there's just literally hundreds of them packed. Now this, I'm not sure. Oh, this is, I think, the museum, the Kuchi. I don't have the correct name for it, but I'll call it the Kuchi Museum. And this is an outdoor, there it is, Kuchi Tunnels. See, look at that. I remembered. And it started out where they show you some of the planes and some of the military weapons that the Vietnamese captured from the U.S. military. And what this whole thing was, I hope I have some good pictures. Rules for visiting. Let's see. Visitors. They show you the tunnels that the Viet Cong hid in, and then they show you some of the different things they had set up for trapping other soldiers, American soldiers, French soldiers, and how they hid. And then they even had some pictures of how they tortured Americans. And they let you go in and go underground and come up through the tunnels. And you can see how they hid under the ground and had fake tops. And they had a surgery bunker where they showed you where they treated the Vietnamese soldiers. And everything was kind of hidden. And our guide in this tunnel was a former Viet Cong fighter. And I don't know if we'll see him, but he had lost an arm, and I think that was part of their program to help their veterans, was they gave them jobs in these kind of, well, it's a museum.
Museums, yeah.
Yeah. But you'll see as we go through this, they also had us.
Weapons.
They had us shoot some guns at the end of the tour. These are some of the traps where they caught Americans and different foreign soldiers. They'd fall through the ground not knowing it was a trap, and they would get cut with the different knives and whatever. This might be the shooting range we were at.
Looks like a shooting range.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. They had us shooting.
Pistols or
rifles? No, there it is. Big rifles. And that was kind of interesting. And there was a different museum, the War Remnants Museum. And again, this shows they're thanking the communist parties and the working class of the countries. Okay. And this I don't quite remember, but the turtles and this was again, this is outside of that museum, and they were showing you different Buddhist figurines where you would make kind of a donation. And very pretty area. This was a restaurant we went to. Nice restaurant in outside dining, and they had I remember they had a very, very attractive bar area. This was as nice a place as you'd find in any Southeast Asian city. And very international food. It really was very lovely. And it there it is. It was called the E Club. And again, it surprised me because, in my head I was thinking Vietnam was going to be, a little bit backward, communist country. But meanwhile, they managed to develop these very Western-oriented, kind of high-end resorts, restaurants. So they have made a very aggressive effort to attract foreign tourists to come to their country. So they see tourism as a good money magnet. And unlike some countries, like we've had a lot of guests on this show who've been to Cuba, and they said, the hotels were okay, the food was okay to poor, they liked the people, were friendly, but when you want to bring Western tourists, they want more than just okay. They want a little bit of a high-end feeling of, nice dining. They want what they'd get in, if you went to Miami Beach, if you're in Hawaii, they don't want to necessarily get a third world resort. They want third world pricing
with first-class
with
service.
first-class service. There you go. And
Right.
I would say Vietnam did that. It was relatively inexpensive, yet the hotels we had were all very, very nice. The restaurants were nice. I mean, I really was very pleased with all those aspects of Vietnam.
So if you were to go back, would you book a formal tour through a tour agency, or would
Well,
you...
it depends. If I went with like my wife and children, I'd say let's just go to the resort because we'd bring the little kids, and I don't know if I would spend time with them seeing all the things I saw. I might say to them, if you want to see all that stuff, I don't know if that's a trip I would take little kids with. I mean, like my granddaughter is, 2.5 years old.
Right.
My son's is 4. I don't know if they're interested in that other kind of stuff.
Probably not at
I was
those
going to say
ages.
no. But certainly to go on a vacation and just stay at the hotel and go to the pools and, swimming and all that, absolutely.
And one of the hotels at which you stayed earlier in the show
Yep.
had a kids club.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm saying
well as the
that's the
pool and
hotel I would want to go to. That was a fabulous property.
It's like going on a cruise.
Absolutely. So do we have more photos with this? Is no. Okay.
No, this is the second part of your journey.
Okay.
Later, we'll go to Cambodia and Bangkok, Thailand,
Yep.
and that'll complete the journey. But you described things so rapidly that we have a few minutes left. So tell us more about the journey.
So
You said that you had no problem speaking English.
I had
Anywhere you went.
I had no problem at all
The hotel
with
staff.
language. The hotel staff was very good. All in all, I mean, I would say to people, who are considering vacations, Vietnam is a destination. And if you have the time, when we do the next show, we're going to be in Cambodia. You might want to add that. Bangkok and Thailand is always a lovely trip. I've been to Bangkok a few times. It's a great city. There you might want to look into getting some clothes made for yourself. They do a big custom tailoring business.
Now, on this trip, you did not visit China.
I did not. I have been to China before. China's a great trip also, but very different than Vietnam. I don't think of China in the way of a resort. I mean, I know they do have some resorts, but I don't view China the same way. This Danang area was definitely very much a resort destination. Hanoi is very interesting to see. I'm glad the way I did it. Hanoi was a must to see. The Danang resort part of it was interesting. Saigon maybe. So you could do Hanoi maybe 3 days, 3 or 4 days Danang, or 5 maybe if you're really a beach person. Maybe 3 days Saigon and go back. If you wanted to concentrate on Vietnam.
Great.
But yes, it absolutely, I would say, is a good destination.
Well, thank you, Jack, for being yourself a guest on Travels with Jack.
Thank you, Bill, for hosting.
My pleasure.
And it's always a delight.
We'll see you again.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.